Unit 7, Data Analysis. This is all about chances. So the number of outcomes or possible outcomes and the number of favorable outcomes. They're common words you're going to need to know. Outcomes is what happens. Okay? So we got to look at theoretical versus experimental probability. Now, in theory is what should happen according to your chances. In theoretical, you're going to look at the number of outcomes, okay, so the number of outcomes that you're looking for versus the total number of possible outcomes, okay, and this would be favorable outcomes. For example, if I were to flip a coin here, okay, I could flip it and start it, and what is my chance of getting a head? Okay, so my probability or chance of getting a head should be 1 chance out of how many possible things are there? Well, there's a head and a tail. So there's 1 out of 2. So in theory, I should have 1 chance out of 2 to get a head. Of course, if I actually do the experiment, I will calculate the experimental probability. For example, I'll start flipping him, and then I'll stop him. So I should get 1 chance out of 2 that I should get a head. So I'm going to press stop. Oh, it's a tail. So I'll write tail here. That's 1 chance. So I'll do 1 more chance, because remember we said I should get 1 out of 2 that it should be a head. And of course I will stop it. Oh, it's a tail again. Well, well, well. That didn't work out quite like we had expected it. So in theory, yes, we should have got 1 out of 2 heads. But when we actually calculated the experiment, we got 2 out of 2 tails, or 0 out of 2 are heads. So that's experimental probability. That's what you actually get versus theoretical probability. And as you know, sometimes some people are luckier than others. So let's go on to this unit first. A few things we need to calculate. 2 of these you should have encountered before. It is mean and mode. Okay. Now, the mean is often, you'll hear the word average used as the mean. Like, oh yeah, I did all my test scores and my average was 80. Okay. Mean is a way of measuring the center number of your a bunch of data that you get. So when it says calculate the mean for each data set below, so in other words, here's all the numbers they give you. Look at A. In order to calculate the mean, you have to simply add up all of your numbers. So I'd have to add up 9 plus 5 plus 3 plus 10 plus 8 plus 7 plus 7 plus 6. And when I add them up, I'll get one great big number. Then when I got that big number, I got to divide it by the total number in my data set. So there were 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 numbers in my data set. So when I get my total number added up, I divide it by 8, and I will have my middle number or my mean. Okay. So you do that for this one. You'd add up all these numbers. They could be test scores. And then you divide whatever you add them up to be by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So it would be all this added together divided by 6. So the mean is pretty straightforward, not too hard to calculate. When it comes to the mode, all you're talking about is what appears the most. Okay, so if I look at all of these guys here, and I see, okay, this one is once, twice. Oh, look, the 9 is twice. The 12 is 3 times, and the 13 only shows up once, the 10 only shows up once. So in this case, for the mode, he shows up, this 12 shows up 3 times, or the most. So my mode of this data set is 12. So I could look at this one here, down at the bottom. I have 7 showing up, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times, so the mode is 5. Sometimes you might end up with more than one mode. You could end up with the mode being 2 numbers. Okay? So if the mode, let me see, check this one out here. 76 shows up 3 times, and that is the most, so the mode is 76. And this one, 32 shows up once, 40 shows up once, 34 shows up 2 times, and that is it. So 34 is your mode. If you have both of them, maybe two numbers that show up the same amount, then you might have two modes. Like you might have 34 and 36. And sometimes they'll all show up the same amount, all of them. So in that case, you would not have a mode or any particular one for that one. Going down here a little bit further, here you've got a table of statistics. Okay? And if you wanted to calculate the mean or the middle number for how many games were played, you simply add up all these numbers and divide it by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So you take all of these and divide it by 6. One way you were also shown how to do the mean, in other words, to balance these all out, you are given a bunch of link cubes. So there, in this case, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 in this one, 5 in this one, 5 in this one, and I believe there's 8 in this one, and 5 in this one. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 groups of link cubes. And what we do is we take one from here and we kind of average them out. You take another one from here and you average them out, and you take one. You try to make them all pretty much the same. And now you can see they're all balanced out nicely. And there is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There is 6. So the mean for this group of link cubes, when you balance them all out, is 6. You would also get that number if you went 7 plus 5 plus 5, which is 17, plus another 8, which is 25, and then we have 5 more is 30. So we add up all these numbers and divide it by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 30 divided by 5, and the answer is also 6. So there's two different ways to do it. And of course, if you have a large group of numbers, you're not going to use link cubes to work it out. The other two measures of central tendency will be median and range. Okay? So we're trying to figure out two more things. We already know the mean. You'd have to add them all up and divide by the total numbers you got. The mode is the one that appears the most. The median, okay, is simply the middle number. So the median, the way I remember, MED, mid, it looks like mid, middle, median. But the key is when you take a group of numbers, you got to put them in order first. It doesn't matter if it's least to greatest or greatest to least. So I'm going to take one of these here now and see if I can put them in order. So let's take, right here. So I'm going to take this one, and it's a bunch of campers here who actually get paid in that. They hired 8 summer camp counselors. So here's their weekly pay. We want to find the median. We'll do a median first. So the median is the middle number. So let's see, what's the smallest number? 280. So I'll cross him off and put 280 here. What's the next smallest? 280, 280. Then we got 290. And then, of course, after 290, we have 295. After 295, we end up with 325. After 325, we end up with 360, then 365. 365, and okay, then we got 375 and 420. So I'm going to have to move these over a little bit. So basically all I did, I put them in order from least to greatest. I could have went from greatest to least. It didn't really matter which way I went. So I've got 375 and 420. And then 420. Now in order to find the middle number, all you have to do is cross one off on each side at the same time. So gone, 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 gone. And in this case, we have two numbers that end up in the middle, 325 and 360. So there is no middle number because we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We have 8 of them, so we really can't find the middle of that one. So if we end up with the middle number, both of them ending up in the same, we simply take these two numbers here, add them up. So 325 and 360 will give us a total of 5, 8, and 6. So the two numbers together is 685. Divide that by 2, of course, because we want the middle of that number. So 685 divided by 2 equals 342.5. So the middle of this will be 342.5. So that is the mode. Okay. Sometimes when you cross it off, you'll cross off it and you'll only have one number in the middle. But if you end up with two of them, you can't cross both of them out and say 0. All you do is find the mean between these two numbers. Now the range is very easy. So for the range, we're just finding out what the highest is. Highest, take away the lowest. So in this case, the highest, I believe, is 420. And of course, the lowest is 280. So in this case, the range, 420 take away 280. Our range is 140. Okay. So just to summarize what these measures of central tendency are again. Okay. We started off with mean and mode. Mean is when you take up all of the numbers, add them together, and then divide by how many numbers you had. The mode is what occurs the most, and sometimes you might have two modes, sometimes you might have none. The median is the middle number when you arrange it from lowest to greatest. Remember, if you end up with two numbers that you can't cross off both of them, you simply take the mean or the average of the two numbers. And then, of course, the range is when you take the highest and take away the lowest, and you're basically seeing how much it went up from lowest to highest. Kind of like if it's 0 degrees today and 10 degrees tomorrow, the range is from 0 to 10, which is 10-degree jump. Now, when you're trying to do some of these and you're asked to write a set of numbers that have a certain median or a certain mean or something like that, one of the easiest ways to do it is, let's say you had to write 10 numbers with a mean of 5. In other words, they all have to average out to 5. Well, if I had to put, let's say, 5 numbers that averaged out to 5, the easiest would be to just do 5, 5, 5, 5, 5. You know all of these are going to average out to 5. And then if you want to make 5 separate numbers, just take one away from this and add it to the other one. And then maybe I'll take one away from, or 2 away from this, and add 2 onto this one. So as long as I kind of, just like I'm adding blocks, I take away some from one and give it to the other, I will always still end up with the same 5, 5, 5, 5, 5, or 25 in total. So if you're asked to write a set of 5 numbers with the median 21, remember 21, median, means the middle number. So if I write this as my middle number, I can put as many as I want on each side of it. As long as if I put 1 here, I got to put 1 here. If I put 1 here, I got to put 1 here. And that still makes it the median number. Okay, I'll do one more. Let's say you had to write something with a mean of, let me see, 16. So you could have 16 as your mean, and it's got to be 5 numbers. Well, I would start with 16, 16, 16, 16, and 16. There. Now, what if they said your middle number, or your mode, had to be, let's say, 10? Well, all you'd have to do is take away 6 from this. That would make this 10. So if you took 6 away from this, you got to add it over here somewhere. So I'm going to add 6 on to this guy because I took it away from here. And that would give me 22. Okay, so that mean is still 16, but my mode is now 10. If they told you you had to use 5 different numbers, then you'd simply just take one away from this guy and maybe add it to this guy over here. And then you could put them back in order from least to greatest if you'd like, because I know it's nice to have them kind of in order in that, right? Well, I can't do it there on this one right now, but you get the point. So it's easiest to just start off with all the numbers the same and then take one away from one and add it to the other in order to keep the mean the same and make the mode whatever you want. Okay. Now, sometimes in lesson 7.3, you have an outlier. And very simply put, an outlier is a number that just doesn't seem to belong in that set. It looks really different than the rest of this data. For example, look at this one right here. Are any of these here look like they don't really belong? Okay. So you could look at this one here and you got 172, 422, and you can see that some of these numbers just don't belong. Most of them are in the 200s. So this 422 looks like it's way overinflated. It looks too big. Okay. That said, you might also say that 172 might not belong either. Maybe. Depends on what you mean as a outlier. I would say in this case, the outlier in this one is probably going to be, probably going to be 422. I might even keep that 172 there. So if you've got a number that's way too high and you take it out, it's going to bring down your mean a little bit. It's like taking away your best test on your from your school work. If you take away your best test, your marks are going to go down. If you take away your worst test and you only use your other ones, your marks or your mean should go up. So looking at this one here, number 2, are any of these outliers? Well, we got 50, 40, 30, 60, 60. I would say out of these, this guy looks pretty low here. Okay, and I might even say that this guy looks pretty high. Okay, so these two may be outliers, or you could just say one of them are outliers. Looking at this group right here of data, definitely this 120 seems to be an outlier because it's nowhere close to, the 60s or 70s that all the rest of them are. But you could also say, I guess, that this 0 might be an outlier as well because it's kind of low in that case. Okay. Sometimes you won't get an outlier and sometimes you will, but it has to be drastically different than the rest of them. So that's all an outlier is.